Good morning, Albert. How are you?
Good morning, guys.
So last night we watched two awful offensive performances. Awful. But the Eagles find a way to grind out a win. And all of a sudden, Chicago and Detroit are 6-3, and Green Bay is behind both of them in the NFC North. How would you handicap this division through 9 games?
I don't know. Who do you guys trust most? I'd say it's probably Detroit for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Correct.
I just like the way I look at it is, who's shown the highest ceiling and, who is going to be the most impervious to, what's ahead, which is, for every team, injuries and, the natural bumps that you get over the course of the year. And I just look at where Minnesota is and, the questions at quarterback there and, where Green Bay is. And I think I've got new questions with the Packers on where their offensive line is right now. Tucker Kraft, I think, is a bigger loss than a lot of people realize. And then with the Bears, I love where the Bears are, and I love that they've been able to win different ways. And now you see them coming from behind. I guess the question would be is it sustainable? But, I'd say they're the team right now where you look at them and you say, man, they could actually get better than they already are, but I think the Lions are clearly the one where you say the ceiling is the highest. That's the team that's got the best shot at getting to a Super Bowl. And that's probably the team that should win the division. Dan Campbell takes over play calling in midseason. That sort of tells you that everything's not perfect there either.
So, Albert, how would you characterize what the Bears have been doing as of late with these fourth quarter comebacks? Are they lucky? Are they good? Both?
No, I think it's, it's actually interesting. I had a conversation with Roman Dunze after the game, and he said that they have, what Ben Johnson has basically laid out to him, to them, is there's 3 stages of it. It's, hope, then it's belief, and then it's knowing, right? It's going from hoping something's going to happen to believing it's going to happen to knowing it's going to happen. And he said that in this game, it's sort of that the knowing it was going to happen clicked for them, knowing how this thing was going to end up playing out. And, so I think it's, a quarterback who, and for all the faults of Caleb, I will say this, one of the things that he had to go through his last year at USC is that he really had to carry the team, right? So, his first year there, he had Jordan Addison, a lot of the pieces that, that you would hope to have in place as a quarterback were in place. You had Lincoln Riley coming in, the first-year coach of the Pac-12 and all of that. And then his second year, a bunch of stuff that went right wasn't there anymore or went wrong. And so he had to put the team on his back and carry them. And I think, in these sorts of situations, he's used to having to do that. Now, is it a different level? But, I don't think it's foreign to him, the idea that, if the plan doesn't play out the way that we had hoped it would play out, well, then, I got to go make some things happen. And again, that's been to his detriment a lot, early in his career. But I think you see late in these games where he doesn't feel uncomfortable taking on or shouldering a little bit more of the load and helping the team get it done, which a quarterback has to do when you're playing from behind late.
Albert, in terms of looking at this Green Bay team, Elton Jenkins looks like he could be sidelined for a long time with a lower leg injury last night. How does that affect what they're trying to do offensively? Because their offensive line isn't great. Now to lose a key cog, that's a big problem. And you got no Matthew Golden. Romeo Doubs got knocked out last night. They're missing, I think, Wicks. They've got some serious issues up there.
Well, that's to me, it's for them, this is a natural attrition that happens. So you're dealing with that. Can Jordan Love be now the $55 million quarterback, which, that's a guy who can lift everybody around him, and we're going to find out. I think that's part of all of this. And then I think it's being able to win a different way. I think that part of it. Now this is a team that's going to have to lean on its defense, and invested in that defense, and you hired Jeff Halfley a year ago. You trade for Micah Parsons this year. A lot of that stuff has really worked out. The defense has looked really good. Now, can the defense carry the team? I think that becomes the question, because that, like, quite frankly, is where the talent is right now. When you're having to pull a guy back over from defense to offense and Bo Melton, and you're throwing to him in key spots, that sort of tells you and illustrates where you are offensively. So, and then you look at the defense, and again, you look at how much they've invested in guys in that defense, and it's not just Micah. It's guys like Rashawn Gary and the amount of first-round picks they have all over the place. I think it's just they're in a spot now where it's like, okay, like, the defense is going to have to win games for us.
And the pass over the middle, and you're mentioning Bo Melton.
Yeah.
That was the pass that he dropped right over the middle. It would have been a first down, right?
Yep, that's right.
What did you think of Sirianni going for it on fourth down late? We didn't understand, Hoodie and I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's with me. Just punt the football down there. Just try and get it inside the 10 and then let my defense go to work.
You're probably talking to the wrong guy, because I think a lot of this fourth down stuff has, like, gone way too far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
I think that there's, like, people, I think it kind of lets the coaches off the hook. It used to be gutsy to do these things. Now it's almost, or it's like gutsy not to do them. You know what I mean? Like, you have your analytics guy in your ear telling you, like, well, the probability is X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, if I just listen to him, then I'm sort of off the hook for that. You know what I mean? And it does feel like, how many times have you seen those ESPN analytics things tell the team to punt? You know what I mean?
Right.
But what I don't like about that, and I've said this for a couple of years now, is like that doesn't take into account like so many different things. It doesn't take into account like the game flow. It doesn't take into account who may have gotten hurt in the game. They were without, like, Lane Johnson was hurt, right? Like it doesn't take into account all these different things that go into it. And I think the coaches who are best at this, and Sirianni's been really good. I'm not denying him that. But the coaches who've been best at this, I think, generally take, like, the flow of the game, the type of game it is, the injury situation, what they're up against, take all those things into account that I think a lot of times go unaccounted for in the numbers. So, if you don't, I said you're talking to the wrong guy. I guess if you think that he should have punted, then you're talking to the right guy, because I've been saying these sorts of things for a while now.
As far as the Vikings are concerned, losing against the Ravens, what's your expectations for this one with the Bears and the Vikings? What's going on with McCarthy and the crew?
It's I don't know. It feels a little funky and sideways, and JJ has been able to get it together at the end of a couple of games, but other than that, he has not played great. And it's kind of eye-opening to see that based on what Kevin O'Connell was able to do with Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, and I think it sort of colors where they were at with Darnold and Jones, and that they felt like they had a really good team coming into this year. And the question was, like, can we find a way to bring one of these guys back and have an insurance policy so, we aren't at risk of throwing the season overboard in the name of quarterback development. But that's sort of where they are now, is that it's like, okay, like, we need to have an answer on J.J. McCarthy at the end of this year regardless, because we don't want to be in this position again. So now I think it sort of becomes sink or swim for the Vikings with McCarthy, and it becomes sink or swim for McCarthy himself. Are you going to be the quarterback of the team in 2026? Go earn it. And is this going to be a quarterback in 2026? Well, now your 2025 season sort of rides on that, and that's a tough spot to be in, again, when you've got so many accomplished veteran players the way that they do. Because I think, we'd all agree that's a really good roster all the way around. And, they just need to get better play out of that position.
All right, see if the Bears can find a way to get to 7-3, man. That's going to be unbelievable if they can win this game.
You guys stunned?
A little bit. Definitely in the fourth quarters. Yeah, didn't expect all this.
Yeah. They're playing well, though. The most encouraging thing to me is you've seen games where the defense has won it. You've seen games where the run game has kind of been the calling card. And the last couple of weeks, with the throw that Caleb made to Colson Loveland against Cincinnati, and then, the two big runs in this one against the Giants. Now you're seeing where Caleb can win games for you, too. I don't know how far they're going to go this year, but it sure looks like they got an exciting future ahead.
Hey, man, have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
All right, thanks, guys.
See you.